Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Tube Investments 2Q FY22 earnings conference call hosted by IIFL Securities Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then zero on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Urvil Bhatt from IIFL Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thanks, Aman. Good morning and welcome to everyone for the Tube Investments 2Q FY22 results conference call. We have the entire management team of Tube Investments with us for this call, including Mr. Vellayan Subbiah, Mr. Arun Murugappan, Mr. Mahendra Kumar, and all the chiefs of businesses, including Mr. Mahesh Ahuja, Mr. K.K. Paul, and Mr. K.R. Srinivasan. For the opening remarks, I will now hand it over to Mr. Vellayan, post which we can take the Q&A session. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And good morning, everybody. So just a quick summary on the quarter that just got done. Basically, our standalone Q2 PBT before exceptional items for TI was 164 crores. Revenue was at 1,667 crores compared with 1,087 crores of the same period in the previous year. ROIC annualized was at 48% for the quarter compared with 43% in the previous same year period. And free cash flow for the quarter was 147 crores due to basically improved net working capital levels from the first quarter. The engineering business revenue for the quarter was at 1,027 crores compared with 565 in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. Profit PBIT was 102 against 84, and metal formed revenue was 328 compared with 285 in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. PBIT was 39 versus 33 in the corresponding quarter, and mobility had 262 crores in revenue, and that was compared with 212 in the corresponding quarter, and PBIT was 20 crores compared to 18 crores in the same quarter previous year. For all our other businesses, revenue was 119 compared to 68 in the corresponding quarter previous year, and PBIT was at 12 compared to 6. Consolidated revenue for the quarter was 3,262 crores as against 1,193 crores in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. This is because we had a full quarter of CG performance as well. And the PBT for the quarter was at 287 consolidated, 287 crores as against 136 crores in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. CG Power, which is now a subsidiary company where we have a 52.6% stake, had consolidated revenue of 1,454 crores during the quarter as against 664 crores in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. And our PBT in CG was 144 as against a loss of 37 crores in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. Shanthi Gears, in which we hold 70%, had a revenue of 72 crores during the quarter as against 54 in the same quarter last year, and PBT was 11 as against 8. Commenting on the financial results, M.A.M. Arunachalam results for the quarter are testimony of the resilience shown by the company by bouncing back strongly with healthy performance, with most of its businesses reaching or surpassing pre-COVID levels. Engineering and metal form product division has witnessed good demand, and export performance has also significantly improved. I'm also pleased to say that post-TI's acquisition of CG Power, the company is on its recovery path with very encouraging performance in all of its businesses. With the impact of COVID receding, our businesses have started full operations. However, the company is taking adequate measures to monitor and control this to ensure steady operation. So thank you. I'll stop with that, and we will turn it over to you for questions. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Anyone who wishes to ask a question at this time, they may please press star and one. First question is from the line of Abhishek Ghosh from DSP Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So
Sure.
just wanted to understand one thing around. Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. So sir, just wanted to understand in terms of the gross margin erosion that one has seen. If you can just help us understand two things. A is that how much of that price increase, RM price increase, have you been able to pass on, and will it kind of normalize going forward? Second is also, the increase in, steel prices. So what will happen is if you make 10 on 100, and if you make the same 10 on 120 because of the increase in steel prices, the gross margins appear lower, but you're still making on a unit basis the same thing. So is it also because of that the gross margins are appearing lower? If you can just help us understand these two things.
Yeah, right, Abhishek. You're absolutely right. That's what happens when it comes to gross margins. Whenever there is a significant increase in the raw material prices, which is what has happened in the last 1 year. So that's why if you're comparing with Q2 of last year, you will see that impact to be quite significant. So it's not erosion of margins, it is just numerator and denominator related stuff.
Okay. And are there some more price hikes which you are kind of negotiating with the OEMs because the steel price increase have been on a continuous basis? So going forward, will you see some impact of better negotiations and renegotiations of the contract, or is it largely price?
Yeah, see, most of the price increase we are able to recover right up to Q1, but for Q2 we are able to recover in certain segments of the business, which will be happening in the coming quarters.
Okay. So the other thing is, if I look at the engineering numbers, which has a lot of dependence on two-wheelers. If you look at the industry, two-wheeler numbers are fairly tepid and moderated. But if you look at your engineering segment, you have shown a very strong improvement and growth there, both on a 2-year CAGR basis and both on a YY basis. So how should one look at it? If you can just probably bridges, is it because of higher steel price being passed on, or is it because of higher exports? If you can just help us understand, it'll be helpful.
Yeah, Mukesh this side. So your observation is right. It is a combination of 3 factors. First factor is the raw material prices has gone up, and second, our export book is pretty strong, and maybe going forward also we see that same momentum to continue. And also we have gained some market share when the market is not doing well. So it's a combination of all 3 reflecting in the performance. And even the non-auto business, which is the hydraulic cylinder business, that is also exports as well as domestic market, both are doing pretty well.
What will be exports as an overall for us now?
For engineering business, it's around 20% now in Q2. For the company as a whole, if you see, it's around 15%.
And this 20% used to be sub 10%, say year 12 to 15.
Last quarter it was around 12%.
Okay, I have few more questions. I'll probably come back in this. Thank you so much, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may please press star and one at this time. The next question is from the line of Amit Kashyap, Love Research. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Morning Amit.
सर मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि आपका जो भी एक सेगमेंट आने वाला है ईवी के लिए, अपने इलेक्ट्रिक स्कूटर, वो पिछले लॉन्च दिसंबर में आपने बताया था, लास्ट क्वार्टर में दिसंबर में लॉन्च होगा, तो सर वो ऑल ओवर इंडिया बेसिस होगा या सिर्फ अपना रीजन वाइज होगा? साउथ में या आपके इधर ही?
नहीं, आई थिंक सॉरी, हमने बोला कि हम दिसंबर तो नहीं बोला था, हम बोला था कि शायद पहले क्वार्टर, आई मीन लास्ट क्वार्टर इन द फाइनेंशियल ईयर, मार्च में बोला था, लेकिन वो ये कोविड के साथ शायद थोड़ा डिले हो जाएगा और शायद एक और क्वार्टर डिले हो जाएगा। लेकिन पहले किधर लॉन्च करेंगे, शायद पहले साउथ इंडिया में लॉन्च करेंगे और फिर नेशनल, वो डिसाइड नहीं किया अभी तक।
डिसाइड
तो EV 3-wheeler है, not scooter.
Oh, is it? Alright, right. Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A reminder to our participants, please press star and 1 if you wish to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Anupam Gupta from IIFL Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, morning, sir. So couple of questions. Firstly, on the mobility side, cycles basically slightly volatile in terms of growth and margins. But let's say if we were to extrapolate what you are seeing right now in the market, how do you see the growth panning out over the next 1 year, assuming it doesn't revert back to what it was before COVID? So how do you see that business panning out? And in the same vein, you had earlier mentioned that exports there you plan to double in this year versus last year. So is that plan on track as of now?
Both for mobility, so I think Paul, can you just answer the questions? Both were for mobility, I believe. Okay. Paul, are you there? Sorry. Okay. Sorry, so Paul is not there. So I think the first question was how do we see the market playing out for the rest of the year? So I think kind of if you see it overall, the market has been down versus last year, and we think that a similar trend will continue even for the next couple of quarters where we don't see a massive revival. Usually, like April, May, June is the biggest season, but I would say for the next 2 quarters as well, it'll probably be kind of single digit down compared to last year would be kind of our estimate. And then the second question was exports and cycles versus last year. Do you have that data?
It's not very significant this time. But yes, growth will
We do see growth, but it's not been significant yet. Right? Is the answer to that question.
Okay, so have you, just to continue there, so have you gained market share and will that, do you see that continuing? So you'll continue to grow faster than the market domestically?
Yeah, so we have gained market share. About 1% we've gained domestic market share.
Okay. Fine. And the second question was for the metal form product business. So I assume railways hasn't picked up yet there. So what has actually driven the uptick? If I look at sequentially, there's a healthy growth which you see in metal form products. Even YOY also, the growth is better. So what has driven that part of growth there in that segment?
Yeah, Srinivasan here. In metal form products, the growth was mainly driven by the chains business, both the automotive chains and industrial chains. Also, we have been supplying to four-wheeler, fine blank and BIW parts, door frame parts. These two BUs also have shown good traction. Though railways was down, the other businesses have kicked in, and that is how we see the growth.
Okay. And any traction which you see in the railways so far still continues to remain muted?
Yeah, we see definitely improvement in railways in the coming quarters. They've started increasing their operating levels. In Q3 and Q4, we'll see progressive increases in our revenues and profits.
Okay, understand. That's all from my side for the time being, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is on the line of Rahul Ranade from Goldman Sachs Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Just a couple of questions on the metal form side of the business. So just curious to know why, don't we see a similar growth in terms of the top line for the metal form business like the engineering business, where even the metal form business would also have that bit of a commodity impact which would drive the top line growth. And in the similar light, like if we look at it on a YY basis, the margins obviously have declined for the engineering segment because of the denominator effect. But why don't we see the same in the metal form business also?
Okay. Yeah, Rahul, that's a very good question. See, in metal form business, the export content is relatively less. That is the reason the growth had not been as you compared with the engineering business. So that is the answer to your first question. So what is your second question?
That why don't we see the denominator effect of the commodity in the margins in the metal form if we are seeing that in the engineering segment?
Okay. Our contribution margins are fairly higher in metal form products. That is the reason the effect of raw material increase had not, significantly affected the ratio.
Okay, but in fact, actually the margins have gone up instead of down for the metal form business, if I'm not wrong. So, like if the commodity prices actually kind of cool off, then would the margins be even better than what they are right now? That would be a fair understanding then?
You're right, Rahul. There are two factors to that. One is in metal form products division, we have quite a good amount of aftermarket business.
Okay.
Right? Aftermarket sales in metal form products division.
Sure. Yeah, even on a longer term basis, if I were to kind of look at it, we have kind of structurally been able to improve metal form product segment margins from, let's say, 7-8% to now, let's say, in the range of 10-11%. So what would have gone into these efforts? Is it some low margin business we have kind of given away, or is it just, improvements on our part that we've been able to improve the margin?
In all the business units of metal form products division, we have worked on efficiency improvements internally for bringing down the break-even levels. That has actually contributed to the improvement in the bottom line. That is the improvement you're seeing in percentages compared to the earlier years.
And also the mix of businesses also plays a role here.
Correct.
So as the KRS explained, the high profitable businesses like auto chains have done well. So that mix advantage is also helping.
Sure. So probably the mix more in favor of auto chains instead of, kind of railway contribution, which would be a little lower margin business. Is that the way to understand?
Yeah.
Yes, that is also one of the factors.
Okay. Got it. Okay, sir. Thank you. I'll step back in the queue.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sundar S. from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello, Vellayan and team. Thanks for the opportunity. Hello.
Yeah. Very good.
Yes, sir. So my first question is on the engineering business, specific to the exports. If you need a ballpark indication, are the margins in the export business for engineering better than the domestic one?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. So this quarter then largely only the denominator factor that led to the lower margins despite having a better mix. Is my understanding right?
Yes, like Mahendra explained already, there is a numerator and denominator effect only.
All right, so perfect. And I would also like to hear from Mr. Vellayan in terms of how is the demand outlook turned out in terms of the OEM demand, what are we seeing in terms of the order book?
So it looks like there is a mixed reaction will be there, like commercial vehicle industry and the infrastructure related are expected to do pretty well. And as you are already aware, the chip shortage is impacting to some extent two-wheeler as well as passenger vehicles. And exports demand looks to be pretty strong even going forward.
Okay, thank you. And any update on that one particular facility that you were supposed to launch in Chennai for a critical safety component that is due sometime this year?
Yes, that we have commissioned in month of September, and the trials are on, and we are expected to ramp up the facility by December.
Yes, thank you. And one last question, any updates on the optic lens business?
Wait, good.
Yeah, optic lens, as you know, the plant has been commissioned. The production is going on. There is some lull in terms of demand because of the chip shortage for all the camera module and its components. That is temporary, we suppose. And once that is over, the demand is likely to pick up.
Fair enough, sir. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vimal Gohil from Union AMC. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. I had two questions. One is on the other segment. I think the other segment was the one which you introduced very recently in your disclosures and where you house your newer initiatives that you're taking. So over a period of time, I noticed a very, very good ramp up. We are now very close to 120 crores per quarter. If you could just highlight maybe, where, in which segment in this other space are we seeing growth coming from? That is point number one. The second point is just a clarification on the cycle or the mobility business, which probably has majority cycles as of now. Mr. Vellayan, you mentioned that the market is sort of not doing well right now. I'm not sure if I heard that right, but if you could just sort of reiterate your outlook on the industry as well as your performance in that segment. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So as far as the first question is concerned, the other segment mainly comprises of industrial chain, which is what we regrouped from last quarter. Plus, of course, it has these other new businesses, which are just ramping up. We have just come out of lockdown and they're just ramping up. Maybe after a couple of years, I think we'll be in a position to talk about those volumes. But right now, it's predominantly industrial chains.
So if that is the case, then your metal form products would largely be autos and railways, right?
Correct.
Both domestic and export.
Correct.
Fair enough. And sir, if you could just help me clarify the comments made in the cycles space, the industry as well as the company's performance, because clearly we've done really well. We are way above what we were, in FY20 as well. So, if you could just help me understand that.
So there was a specific question in terms of what the market was doing. So what I said was the market is down versus last year, right? So compared to last year, the market is down almost 12%. So that was the specific question. So like you said, we have changed our whole model there. We've gone with a very lean operating model. And we are actually seeing good results from that as a result, and that's why you're seeing stronger performance from TI. So it's two separate points. Kind of one is what's happening to the market, one is what's happening to TI.
Right. So market being 12%, 12%, I'm assuming it will be in value terms versus our, in the first half we've grown almost 40%. So that's,
So that's why I said, our performance is different from kind of where the market is.
Right.
One of the reasons, obviously, like I said, is we've also gained market share. And we've also shifted our mix significantly towards, higher value products. So basically on both counts, on a volume count and a value count, we've done better. And overall, profitability has also improved in that business. So the business continues to get stronger. But the specific question I was responding to was the fact that the market is softer than the market was last year. And we expect that softness in the overall market to continue. So I want to detach that from our performance, which has been stronger.
Got it. Sir, and in cycles, how much would be your domestic piece today? In the first half, you can just give me the number. How much would be domestic exports mix?
Domestic is predominant. I think it's like 97 or something. 97% domestic.
Got it. And last question is, you said that within the engineering piece, exports has gone from being 10% to 20% in the first half to first half period. And the exports piece has better margins, is what you mentioned, right?
Yeah, no, I was comparing Q1 to Q2. Q1 it was around 12%. It went up to around 20% this time.
Okay. So got it. Fair enough. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is from the line of Abhishek Ghosh from DSP Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks for the opportunity again. So, few questions in terms of what will be the broad factory utilizations in each of the segments or at a consolidated level, just to understand that when we should see the acceleration in CapEx in the next round?
I don't give so I would say, like, obviously in cycles we have enough capacity available because we have both plants, right? So in mobility we're not short of capacity. But I let the other two divisions, the division heads will just give the answer.
In metal form products, we use about 80% of the overall capacity today, all units put together. So we have still room for about 15 to 20% more, products that can be made to meet the demand.
And in the engineering division, maybe we are already close to 90% of capacity utilization, and also our capacity expansion, like what we mentioned for the safety critical part, is already commissioned in September, and we are also expanding in Rajpura. So with both, again, we will be covered up for next 2 years growth cycle.
So broadly, should we look at about 200 crores of CapEx annual, broadly, just given the current?
Yeah. This year it could be slightly higher, somewhere between 200 to 250 we may end up spending.
Okay.
Because we have this EV project also, three-wheeler EV project.
Correct. Oh, great. And so the other thing is, export is a segment which is doing very well for you. But when we hear, from a lot of the companies who are exporting, they are seeing issues of freight rate increasing, container shortages. So just to understand this 20% exports which you spoke about, could that have been 25% if the freight rates were normalized, container things were normalized? Any thoughts around that and your competitiveness given the freight rate increases?
Let me just give one answer. Mukesh will give you a perspective, okay? Abhishek, but I think part of what you have to understand is, like, honestly, nobody understands fully what's going on in the world right now. Okay? There are too many things that are going crazy. And obviously, the one advantage we have in steel is that kind of the raw material cost in India right now still seem to be advantaged, especially versus the US, which is basically seeing steel raw material costs at a much higher price. Therefore, the export kind of gaps, right, despite the fact that, basically container costs have gone up like crazy and all of that, the export market is still sound right now, right? Now, this is dependent on various dynamics, right? And I would say, like everything else in, like, nowadays, China seems to be at the center of what's going to happen with it, right? So, right now it looks like the stances that are being taken, so both by China domestically in terms of shutting down steel capacity, therefore, steel prices kind of varying. Honestly, I don't think steel prices have varied so much by geography. Historically, I've never seen such spreads. Right? So the steel price spread combined with everything else is what's kind of defining this, right? So your question on kind of will the margins improve if, container prices come down, I think more than container prices, the bigger question is going to be what happens to everything else, right? And what happens to the steel price spread, what happens to the, on America's outlook towards China. So those will be the two biggest factors, I would say, that would drive what happens more than the container prices. Obviously, container prices coming down will help us. But then these other two factors, if those spreads continue to kind of remain as high, then that will be a larger driver than the container.
So India, in terms of exporting, is kind of favorable because of the steel price spread, despite container prices moving up. That's the way to
absolutely. No, that's a single. I mean, that gap is kind of far outweighs the other gaps right now.
Okay.
So what is the math, Mukesh? Right now, how much is the domestic price of steel in the US is running what?
Currently in India, it is running around 1,000. In US market is clocking around $1,700.
So that's the spread you're seeing right now, Abhishek, right? So that far outweighs the cost to transport a ton, right? What is a 20-ton thing to the US right now?
Those costs have gone up.
I know. But how much will a 20-ton container cost to the US right now?
It is almost about now clocking at $150 or so.
Per ton?
Per ton.
So basically you're seeing the swing in container prices would have been almost like $100, right? More than $100.
Yes.
Whereas the swing right now in raw material prices, like you can see, the gap is almost $700. So,
thank you so much for making it.
So that should help you with your math, obviously. So all I'm saying is, like, if container prices come down, that's not going to be, it depends on what that other spread is also sitting at, no?
Sure. And so just one more thing in terms of, if you look at the journey of Tube in last, that's 3.5, 4 years since the time you've kind of taken over. The first.
Abhishek, your audio is very low, sir. Can I request?
Hello. Is this better now?
Yeah.
Is this better? Yeah. So just taking a step back, looking at your journey over the last 3-4 years. First was the cost efficiency margin improvement program, which you kind of achieved. Then was, getting into an acquisition, which you have just done about 12 months back. And while, the benefits are still to kind of come through, the larger benefits, at least that seems to be stabilizing the way we are seeing it. So what's the now most, the way we should look forward in terms of capital allocation? You're generating almost 600 crores of cash flow every year. 200 goes into the capex. But how should one look at the company the next way forward, or there is still time around when you kind of decide on that? Just your thoughts on that, sir.
Yeah, I think we've articulated a bit, Abhishek, and that story is not changing so much, right? Like we said, the way we look at it, like with that 200 to 250 crore capex, TI1 will continue to be able to grow at between 6 to 10% a year, right? So that is the core, and so that is what's going to generate that, free cash flow, like you said. It won't be 600 crores, but it'll be kind of, maybe north of like 400, 450 crores or so. Yeah, but you're right, because basically kind of that's the cash flow being generated after the capex for the 6 to 10%, right? So TI1 will continue to grow at 6 to 10%. There's still more work to be done on lean there. We're starting on that lean efficiency initiative. I shouldn't call it lean efficiency, but it's a lean initiative that's basically starting next month. Next month. So that will start then, we need to kind of look at the next level of opportunity in terms of margin improvement in the core businesses. So that is step number one, right? So that's what's going to spin off the cash. The cash, like we've said before, will be used for TI2 and TI3, right? The idea with TI2 is to build these new platforms, but these platforms won't be what generates the revenue or the bottom line for us now. We're investing in those platforms so that 5 to 7 years down the line, it can keep our compounding rate at the same level, right? And TI3 will be kind of much lumpier, and we'll continue to look for opportunities there. Like we said, kind of the key thing was that we had to be kind of debt-free. But like you said also, CG is looking much more positive now. So as we get more confidence that the two companies are kind of in that, getting to that debt-free position, we will start looking at other opportunities on that front as well. So the path remains kind of the same, right? I mean, the long-term objective, Abhishek, like we said, is over time we want to build 10 business platforms, each of which, can basically have, multiple divisions, and each of which is basically focused on their own line of business. Towards that end, I'd say we have like maybe 4 business platforms now, and then we have to kind of grow out the rest over time, right? So that's basically why we're seeding TI2 and TI3. Will then become scalable engines unto themselves, right? So over time, we've talked about this whole compounding story. Internally, we have maths in terms of how it will work. But basically, that is what, the focus of it all is like a compounding cash flow engine that continues to compound. Well, may not be at the rates we've done for the last 2-3 years, but definitely kind of at a 25% plus rate, over a long period, right? Our design is to try and kind of get it to compound at that rate over a 10-year period.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for charting out the strategy, and wish you and your team all the best for that. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Abhishek.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Niket Shah from Motilal Oswal. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. Just a couple of questions. One is on the engineering part of the business. While Abhishek did ask the question about the numerator denominator on the raw material side, was there any role played by any product mix to bring margins to slightly lower levels?
No.
Like we said earlier, there is no margin erosion. It's a numerator and denominator effect.
Denominator. Got it. And apart from the cycles business, are there any other businesses specifically within engineering business and the metal form business, which are lower than the company average margin?
Right now, the railways business, it's traditionally not been, but right now the railways business is because the volumes are so low over there.
Okay, got it. And we should start seeing some traction from the third quarter at least on the railway side. Got it. And just one final question, if you can highlight on the optic lenses part of the business, although it might be very smaller today, what would be the margins that one can really think of, assuming the plant runs at full utilization?
See, what we have said, Niket, is that all we did with this was just to be able to prove that we can actually make these things, right? In steady state, it will have our belief is 15% margins, but that's not going to happen with this facility. This facility is too small for that. We spent only 30 crores on it, right? So all we were trying to do is kind of ensure that we can get the quality. So once we feel comfortable that, customers are satisfied and the quality is there, is when we'll really invest to build that business at scale. The current version won't have those kinds of margins.
Got it. And is it safe to assume that, given the numerator-denominator effect, broadly the margins would have bottomed out at current levels and we should only see improvement from here on? It might be gradual, but obviously there are a lot of moving parts on raw material side, but assuming raw material where it stays today, we should see margins only improving from current levels and not declining further.
Yeah, so obviously there are initiatives going on to improve the margins, right? But I think obviously this was a huge move on the denominator, right? Basically the denominator moved almost 70%. Yeah. So actually to kind of maintain it close to 10 when the denominator has moved 70%, you can you can reverse the math and see what we've actually gone to if the denominator was the same as before, right? So I think, but obviously kind of the initiative is going to be to improve margins. So it gives us kind of an opportunity now to work more at it, which anyway the teams are working on right now.
Perfect. But that would have some benefit, while it is obviously a negative benefit on margins because of numerator denominator, it also has some positive benefit on the top line. So it kind of converges both sides. When the raw material comes off, it kind of converges both sides, right?
With all these commodities swinging at these levels, I know it's a crazy situation, Niket.
Yeah.
It's top line, but the whole top line is vanity statement, right? So, so that's the danger with this, right? Which is the real growth we look at and measure internally is whether tonnage is moving up, right? And so that's our focus. It will continue to be our focus, right?
Absolutely, sir. Perfect. Thank you so much and best of luck.
Yeah, thanks, Niket.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Nishit Jalan from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. So, my question, basically, I just wanted to hear your thoughts and strategy on the TI2 business. I know you have outlined it very well in the past. I have some specific questions. Firstly, how do you decide, or what are the key criteria which you use to decide which businesses to enter? Is it ROC? Is it customer driven? And this question is also from the perspective that in the earlier calls you highlighted that as a company you would want to diversify away from autos, right? Because it's very high capex intensive and very cyclical. But if I look at the three big businesses on the TI2 side that we are seeding, right, the optic lens, the truck body building, and the EV three-wheeler, all are pertaining to autos, right? So just wanted to hear incrementally from here on, should we assume that you would look at more into non-auto businesses? And from a top-down perspective, do we have any target in terms of what kind of investments on a cumulative basis we would be looking into TI2 over the next 5 years? So entire free cash flow generation from the core business will go into this, or you would try to maintain some dividend policy as well, and basically that would take out some cash and the remaining would go into these businesses. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. So first, yes, we will, dividend policy, I think that is kind of, will continue in its current form, right? So we will continue dividend, so we won't stop that. So that's the first thing. But obviously, as the cash flow improves, it gives us a fair amount of free cash even after the dividend policy and capex for existing businesses. If I had to estimate once growth starts kicking in, I would say that we would be spending at least 200 crores a year on T2-like opportunities going forward. Your third question was, are we going to diversify? So, by the way, this one statement I made also, on the auto side is that we want to kind of move away from auto component supply, right? So, EV three-wheeler we see as an opportunity because the OEM business in India in auto has definitely been better than the component business. And so we continue to see that as an opportunity and hence the EV three-wheeler. Now coming to how do we select, right? We've talked about our criteria in the past. It's kind of well documented in calls. We basically said, for TI2, I'm talking about lower capital intensity, looking at kind of the right mix of kind of B2C and B2B, looking at unorganized to organized as a trend, and then playing off of what we see as a mega trend, right? Kind of, electric vehicles, obviously, and ADAS were one. We've talked about kind of, like our interest in medical comes from the fact that, India continues to spend more on medical. I think India's healthcare as a percentage of GDP is about 2.5 to 3% versus the US, which is almost at 20% if you take payer and provider. So there are segmental kind of shifts that we see because of mega trends that we see driving some of the areas we're looking at. We actually are working, with some consultants also in terms of identifying opportunity areas to get to. So that's helping us basically identify what we see as areas of greatest potential. And like I said, there are a whole bunch of mega trends that we look at, including most lately this area of China plus one, right, where people are beginning to look at India as a second source in some businesses. So I would say that it's a combination of those factors that's basically kind of allowing us to develop filters and decide which businesses we get into. And as we kind of get into a new platform, obviously we do communicate it with you, and we continue to do that going forward.
Thank you, sir. So just some small follow-up. This optic lens, I think we have set up about 6 million capacity on an annual basis. Just wanted to understand what is the revenue potential from the current capacity that we have set up. Just wanted to understand the asset turns in this business.
It's tiny. You can look at it at about 50 to 60 cents a lens. Right? So at 50 cents a lens, you're talking just about $3 million. So it's a very small facility.
Okay. So does that mean that the asset turns in this business are less than 1 because we have invested 30 crores, or maybe a lot of capex has gone initially into land and building which will not recur? So what kind of asset turns can we see in this business once we scale up this into a much bigger plant?
When you really scale up the asset to turnover, maybe investment to turnover ratio will be better. This is only a pilot investment.
Right.
Otherwise,
what will it be? It will be like
the order amount 1 to 1.5.
You're saying sales will be 1.5 times
investment.
So sales will be 1.5 times investment.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of PP Rajesh from Banyan Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. As you were talking about the growth of 25% over the next 10 years, I was just wondering, how much of that growth will come from the current platforms that you talked about, 4 of them, and what do you expect from the newer platforms, whether they are currently in incubation period or something that you may do inorganically?
So like we said, right, 6 to 9% is the revenue. And by the way, we were talking about bottom line growth, not top line. So okay. The revenue growth is 6 to 9 in the existing businesses. So if you average that at let's just say 7.5, and you have some margin expansion on top of that, you'll only get 8 to perhaps 10% coming from the existing businesses. So the remaining 15 to 17% has to come from new businesses. And I'm talking again about bottom line growth. In some cases, it will be lumpy, like the CG acquisition, in which case you get a lumpy chunk coming in from that. And that's why we said that TI3 has to be able to seed it in the in years, and in the out years, basically, it will be driven by TI2 opportunities.
Understood. And on the cycles business, given the growth you have seen, the question is that clearly you are gaining market share. Is it because of, one, you said product mix, but is it also because the competitive intensity has gone down? If you can just give some commentary around the competitive intensity there.
I'll put it a different way. I would say that our competitive intensity has gone up, right? So basically, on a relative basis is what you have to look at these things. And I would say that we are competing a lot more aggressively in that business. Paul, I don't think is on the call, but Paul and team are basically doing a great job there.
So if I may just ask one more there. Are you saying that you are discounting, or you are being more aggressive to take market share, and competitors, the number of competitors, let's say, in the business is still the same that it was, let's say, a year ago?
No, see, first off, we're not discounting. You can see that basically our margins have gone up as well, right?
Right.
Right. So it's not like we're discounting and kind of dropping margins to basically gain market share. You can see that, right? So basically, so that is why I'm trying to explain to you. The way we compete is what we've changed, right? It's basically they've gotten a lot more leaner in the way we compete, right? We're able to kind of respond to, kind of the channels much more efficiently. We're able to, basically service the channels and work with the channels a lot more effectively, and create product that is much more relevant to the end consumer. So in terms of NPD, in terms of supply chain, in terms of overall efficiency, even in terms of cost, that's how we've basically been driving the competition.
I see. And my last question for the time being on Shanti Gear, what is the capacity utilization, and what do you see the prospects going forward? Do you see the industrial growth coming back, because it has been so lackluster in the last, let's say, 5 years? So just curious about your thoughts on that business.
Yeah, so capacity utilization is not high in Shanti. I'd say it's at about 70% overall. And in terms of prospects, definitely with capital goods coming back, in a fairly big way, at least we think that infrastructure and capital goods are going to come back in a fairly big way. That is something that will help Shanti for sure.
Okay, thank you. All the best.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Maitri Parekh from PI Square Investments. Please go ahead.
You said that you have gained 1% of market share. So how much is the share currently, domestic?
Sorry, do you understand the question?
Can you please repeat it? Speak it louder also.
So you said that you have gained 1% of market share this quarter. So how much is the total market share?
What is the total market share?
Of a bicycle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our market share is around 25.
25. So around our market share is about 25%.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Vimal Gohil from Union AMC. Please go ahead.
Thanks again. Just a question again on the optic lens business. I'm sure you must have done some sort of an industry sizing exercise before we sort of deployed capital. Just wanted to, so if you could help us give us some numbers as to what could be the size of the industry in India for the optic lens, and any market share numbers that you were targeting over there?
Yeah, so this business was not focused on India at all. Even what we're making today, nothing we sell in India. We export everything. Okay. So it's 100% focused on exports, because there are, only 3 countries in the world where this is getting produced right now. Maybe 4 if you include Taiwan. So China, Taiwan, Korea, and Japan. It's getting increasingly uncompetitive to make it in Japan and Korea. So we're making it in India and exporting it. So we're not focused on the local market. The global market for lenses right now is about $4 to $5 billion.
Right. And the end market that you're targeting is majorly autos, right?
Yes. Only auto right now.
Fair. And the $4 to $5 billion is the end market auto optic cameras for the auto optic cameras.
These are just the lenses, right? Once you get the cameras,
sorry, I'm sorry. Fair enough. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. A reminder to our participants, please press star and 1 if you wish to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Aman Rakesha from Jita Investments. Please go ahead.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. So my question is on our subsidiary Shanthi Gas. Part of it you answered in the earlier question. My main question is, we see good revenue order booking over last 3 quarters there. Should we see that flow through the revenue profile over the coming quarters? And the second part to this is the composition of order book should also lead us to the similar gross profit margins that we are earning right now. Yeah.
See, I'll tell you that business is a business that's slightly challenged right now because the whole supply chain has been hit, right? Which is basically kind of even getting steel right now in that business because it basically uses forged steel. It's a totally different process. Is a challenge in that business right now. So our challenge in that business, I would say right now, is not as much with demand as it is with kind of the supply chain and our ability to meet that demand. So that's why, I'm kind of more wary about giving any potential outlook on what we will hit over the next couple of quarters. But I hope that answers your question.
Right. So also we have ample land available, if I'm not wrong, at Shanthi Gas. How do we plan to use that land, which is I think lying idle or something?
No, so obviously we will look at it as our businesses expand. We'll obviously look at that as one of the alternatives if it appears that Coimbatore is the right place to put in some of those businesses. Beyond that, we have no plans right now.
Right. Sure. Sir, and lastly, there is board composition change at Shanthi Gas. Would you put some light any reason for that, or is just a technical thing that required for this change?
Yeah, so it was driven by multiple things. I mean, as I look at I think you're asking why I got off the board. And I think that the reason for that was basically because as I look at my overall responsibility, I basically whilst I continue to have oversight over Shanthi in my role as MD of TI, I want to pass some of those responsibilities. Every year we've said the same thing, right? Which is that the only way the company can scale is that if I keep passing some of my responsibilities over to my direct reports. And from that perspective, what has happened in Shanthi is that Mukesh, who is one of my direct reports right now at TI, has kind of taken over my responsibility there at Shanthi. Though I continue to have responsibility and oversight over the company as the MD of TI.
Okay. That is helpful, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that would be our last question for today. I now hand the conference back to the management for their closing comments. Thank you, and over to you.
I think nothing else from my side. Hopefully we've answered all of your questions. I'll turn it over to IIFL.
Sure. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of IIFL Securities Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.
Thank you.
Thank you.